Hey everyone, I've been making a bunch of videos on the Age of Apocalypse timeline. Today, however, we're going to be focused on just two characters from that particular alternate timeline, Blink and X-Man, the alternate version of Cable. The start of this video will go into this story of Blink going into the negative zone and what ultimately happened with this character post-Age of Apocalypse, while the second half of this video will deal with something similar when it comes to Nate Gray of the Age of Apocalypse timeline. For all that and more, be sure to subscribe to our channel and press this button up in the top corner here if you want to see the rest of my Age of Apocalypse videos. With all that out of the way, let's begin. Born Clarice Ferguson, the young mutant moved from the Bahamas to the United States at only the age of 4. Apocalypse invaded America not long after that, at which point Clarice witnessed the brutal death of her parents, and was sent to the death camp known as the Pens, where she spent most of her childhood. Eventually, Blink was rescued by Sabretooth and joined with the X-Men. With her ability to teleport from one location to another in a mere instant, Clarice soon found a home on the team, with her skill set proving immensely valuable to the Freedom Fighters. At one point in this new role, Blink once found herself on a mission where she foiled a dangerous alien experiment being conducted by the sinister Dark Beast. A week later, though the mission was successful, Magneto chastised her for not following orders during the mission. This quickly turned into a heated argument, where Eric threatened to kick the young woman off the team entirely, and even struck her down with his powers when she argued back at him. Storming off, she witnessed Holocaust, another of Apocalypse's acolytes, being attacked by a group of aliens from a strange realm called the Negative Zone, and pondered the idea of forming an alliance with these extraterrestrials. When she is spotted by the son of Apocalypse, Blink had no choice but to take a chance and leap through the portal into this new dimension. The woman lost consciousness as a result, waking up in the Negative Zone with a gun pointed at her head, and the young mutant's memories completely wiped out. Instinctively, and still possessing the finely honed combat skills taught to her by Sabretooth, she struggled against the gunman, who also proved to be a very capable fighter. After a deadly conflict, the two found themselves at a stalemate, and a knife at one another's throat. Blink offered they talk the situation out rather than just keep trying to kill each other, much to her attacker's relief, and he proceeds to save her from a deadly event called the Lava Cloak. They escape on the man's mount, a blind creature called the Ferrocat that travels through space using a sense of sonar and smell. And on this beast, the two begin to travel through one of the calmer regions of the Negative Zone. The man introduces himself as Amor, while Blink explains the nature of her amnesia. From what little she can remember, she only knows she is not from this place. Amor can tell she is indeed from somewhere other than the Negative Zone, and tells her he is plagued by visions of Anhilus, the former ruler of this realm. The once great emperor of this place had long fallen to a group of blue-clad warriors. Blink expresses relief that such a being is no longer around, but Amor seems oddly perturbed by his own story, explaining that something much worse has taken the tyrant's place. They find a group of villagers being attacked by the forces of Blastaar, a powerful conqueror that has sought to replace Anhilus. The attacking soldiers remind Blink faintly of her home world, while her and Amor are able to subdue them. Clarice is briefly distracted by a memory of Weapon X, merely killed because of it were it not for the timely intervention of Amor with his energy weapon. Focusing back on the battle, Blink uses her powers for the first time in front of her companion, shocking the man, though the young woman can explain little of her own nature. Still, he and the villagers are grateful for her help. They explain to Blink that Blastaar wants to use the armies of the Negative Zone to invade Earth, while Amor vows to stand up to this despot and reclaim the realm in the name of Anhilus. Some part of Clarice recognizes the name Earth, and she feels compelled to assist these people because of it, recognizing the danger it represents to her family on a subconscious level. Joining up with this new rebellion, Blink quickly found herself integrated into this new society, once again becoming a rebel against tyranny, just as she had in her home world. She began helping in a small-scale operation against the forces of Blastaar, while starting a romantic relationship with Amor, but still couldn't help but feel as though something was wrong with the whole situation. As the group got more bold, they raided a settlement where they found a number of captives and abused children. This stirs memories within Blink of growing up on Earth in the Pens with another young mutant named Ilyana Rasputin. The girls were horribly treated by their gruesome captor, one of Apocalypse's minions named Sugarman. Such memories were extremely disturbing for the young mutant, and Amor had to help her recover. Over the course of 4 days, this brought the two closer together, leading to them declaring their love for each other. However, it was after those days spent together in relative peace that they were suddenly captured, and brought face to face with Blastaar, surrounded by a stadium full of his followers. After tormenting Blink a little bit, Blastaar revealed something that devastated Clarice on a deep level. Amor had actually been an Anhilus all along. The two were then thrown into prison, where Amor explained that he had no memory of his past life as an Anhilus, but apologized to her just the same. He insisted he must have reverted to this form after being defeated when he was an Anhilus, but swore he has been changed forever thanks to his time spent with Blink. Though Clarice was skeptical at first, Blastaar later confirmed everything Amor had said was true. Sometime later, the villain transported his armies and Amor on a warpath towards Earth. In the meantime, Blink manages to restore her memories, escape from the prison, and retrieve a quiver of crystals she uses as weapons with the X-Men. With a new understanding of herself, she manages to free Amor, destroy one of Blastaar's main weapons, and retreat back to her home world. The effort brings an end to the intended invasion of Earth, while Amor is changed back into an Anhilus, though the experience does seem to have changed the tyrant ever so slightly. Returning home, Blink continued serving with the X-Men. Months later, when the world was about to come to an end in nuclear fire and a restoration of the original timeline, Blink despairs, her spirit finally beaten and broken. A portal opens around the young woman, and she finds herself in yet another world, at which point Clarice first meets another exile. Meanwhile, at another point in this alternate timeline, Nate Gray once returned from the restored timeline, having taken refuge there under similar circumstances. He remembers his home growing up in the Age of Apocalypse, but now has a much more developed sense of his own powers. The X-Man was alarmed to find reality shifting around him, altering between the original timeline and his much darker home as he passed through strange energy waves that altered everything around him. One minute, the seawall would dominate the landscape of the Atlantic Ocean, the next, it would be gone. X-Men traveled to Genosha, confused by these events, where, in the Prime timeline, he found another refugee from the Age of Apocalypse, Sugarman, having partnered with the government here so that he could conduct experiments with the goal of returning to the Age of Apocalypse timeline. Nate confronts what is now a familiar foe and attacks both Sugarman and a number of Genoshan military forces. Neither are much of a challenge to one as powerful as X-Man, so Sugarman activates his own portal, drawing energy out of Nate and using it so that he can return to the Age of Apocalypse. Refusing to allow this, Nate follows, only to nearly drown in the waters below Niagara Falls. He is rescued by Magneto, who introduces himself, already knowing of Nate, because Eric is accompanied by Forge, who X-Man is delighted to see and embraces warmly. Based on Forge still possessing both of his eyes, Nate realizes he arrived in an earlier period of the Age of Apocalypse timeline, before X-Men was ever originally active. Forge, however, knows all of this already, stating Nate has already explained this to him once before, or at least another version of him from a different time period. Meanwhile, above the falls, Sugarman delights in his return, revealing that in the weeks since coming back to this world, he has engineered a new strain of plague that should be able to wipe out all of humanity. He even has a vaccine so he can pick and choose exactly who lives and dies. Aware that this timeline, one way or another, is most certainly doomed, Sugarman has bigger plans than this world, and intends to leave back into the Prime timeline with this new plague. Following the instructions of Nate from another timeline, Magneto, Forge, and X-Men all wait until the next day, at which point they are to attack Sugarman's headquarters. That night, X-Men considers the possibility of staying here in this time period. This early, at the dawn of the Age of Apocalypse, he could do a lot to change things for the better. At Sugarman's lab, Morph, having infiltrated the facility disguised as a research assistant, turns on Sugarman in an effort to save another mutant named Jason Weingart. They are attacked by Sugarman and his minions, forcing Magneto, Eric, and Forge to spring into action. The 5 mutants are able to work together and defeat Sugarman, laying waste to his lab, but he manages to release the plague. With a mighty use of his powers, Nate is able to contain the virus, pulling it out of the waters around Niagara Falls, though the process strains him severely. Once finished, Forge then reveals he had created a portal to return Nate Gray and Sugar Man back to the restored timeline. Though Nate is reluctant to comply with this plan, Forge insists it's what they have to do. Firmly believing the Prime Timeline is far better than this one, basically viewing X-Man as family, he wants what's best for Nate. The young mutant tries to resist, so Forge is forced to trick the boy using an illusion of Magneto attacking, making the young man return home as they say goodbye to each other one last time. Back in the Prime Timeline, X-Men vows to find the Forge of this world and reunite to the closest thing he has to a father. And that's it for Dawn of the Age of Apocalypse, the strange little prequel chapter that Marvel ultimately published for this alternate timeline. Now we're going to go back to the original 90s story with the next major chapter, the second major phase of the original 90s run as we get into Volume 2 of Age of Apocalypse, Reign. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell because you won't want to miss what happens next.